This is the most controversial chapter of the lot.
It is, isn't it? From Autosport.com and Autosport Magazine, I'm Kevin Turner, and this is the Autosport Podcast. Well, welcome to the title deciders episode of our run through the greatest races in World Championship history. So this one doesn't need too much defining, hopefully, other than it has to be the final round of the World Championship. So it's not necessarily races that decided the title, it has to have gone to the last round. So that's the only caveat. So if you're a fan of the 2000 Japanese Grand Prix, which was an awesome race and Karun Chandhok is a fan of, it's not in this list. I'm just going to cover that off now. So help me go through this list. Roger Smith. Roger, yeah, this is quite an easy one, isn't it? Title deciders in terms of what it is. We don't have to explain too much here.
Yes,
but what are we looking for?
I think the ranking is going to be more controversial than anything. I mean, because as you said, we've defined these are particular races where it was decided in that sort of shootout. I mean, these days there are all these sort of words that come spinning out about
hyperbole
about what it is.
Is that what you're suggesting?
And of course, we're only a very short time away from having one for 2025 when it came down to the wire. It's another one of those expressions, and we saw Lando do it with a three-way shootout just recently. So those are the types that we've chosen and ranked.
Well, we should say that this list, and of course the book that it's based on, came out prior to the 2025 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Would the 2025 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix have made it?
Well, that was going to be where would we like to slot it in?
I personally wouldn't.
You wouldn't put something in okay, well, let's get into the list. Well, first of all, let's introduce our special guest who's going to pick our list apart. He's already started. We haven't even actually said any of the races yet. Come on, give us a chance.
Too keen.
Author and journalist, an expert on all things motorsport history, Damien Smith. So, yeah, you've already got a few, I think, bullets lined up in the barrel for this one.
A little bit, maybe. Yeah, could be a few.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. And as we go along, we'll see how that entry compares to 2025 Abu Dhabi as to whether we'd slot it in. So number 10 is the 2006 Brazilian Grand Prix, which is Fernando Alonso basically getting it over the line, isn't it? Really?
Yeah,
the odds were stacked in his favour coming in.
Yes, he only needed a point, and Schumacher needed a win, and then Schumacher stalls on the line, and it's all over. So you might say, why is that there? It's just that it seemed to be significant because it was effectively the end of Schumacher's career as we knew it. Because first of all, he wasn't going to win the championship, but he made a fantastic storming recovery drive and overtook Raikkonen, who was his replacement at Ferrari, during the course of that drive. And it's for those sort of reasons that I think that race does stand out as a remarkable decider, but not necessarily, for the winner himself, who was Massa won the race and Alonso won the championship.
Yeah, I don't remember an awful amount about that final race, but I think the key thing for me about 06 was that Alonso obviously won his second championship in a row, but it was he actually beat Schumacher this time. In 05, Schumacher was pretty much an also-ran, really, because of the Bridgestone tyre situation and the one-off rules on no tactical tyre changes that season, which changed the whole landscape for a season. So the 06 title for me was extra special, that Alonso beat Ferrari like for like, and beat Schumacher like for like.
And the only one to do it, actually, once Ferrari and Schumacher are up and running. If you take 05 out of it, obviously retires after that, it's only Fernando Alonso that gives you that bookend, really.
Yeah.
The man who retired Schumacher.
Well, was it him or was it Kimi Raikkonen?
Well, there we are.
It was Lucas
He overtook Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is here because of Mark Schumacher's charging drive as much as it is as a title decider. So my next question is, would it get edged out by 2025 Abu Dhabi? As a title decider, I think I probably would put Abu Dhabi in over this.
Would you? I mean, I thought the Abu Dhabi race was very tense, and there were moments in it when Lando really did show class in doing what he had to do.
As did Max Verstappen leading from the front and doing what he had to do as well, of course.
Indeed.
Well, I think this 2025, I agree, would edge out this one. But I'm appalled that there's one other that's not on your list.
Go on.
Appalled?
Do
Well, sure.
That's the first time that you've been appalled.
I've
by
been
this.
appalled,
I'm not sure
yeah.
if that's good or bad at this stage.
Do you want to come back to it at the end, or do you want to do it now?
Nah, let's do it now. Well, unless you think it should be really high up.
Unless I've missed it, you haven't got 2010 Abu Dhabi in there.
We haven't got that in there because it was an incredibly boring race that Red Bull and Ferrari both messed up.
But it was
But it
boring.
was tense.
But it was very tense.
was tense.
And it was also hugely frustrating, given that Fernando Alonso spent 40 laps stuck behind Italia petrol.
I think I'm probably going to have to put my hands up here. I think it was me that said to Roger, I'm not having a race in there in which Alonso was behind Petrov as one of the greatest races in F1 history.
I think that.
So I'm going to have to take the full responsibility for that not being in this.
Well,
But I did agree with you.
So
but also Sebastian Vettel hadn't led the World Championship
Yes.
all year, and he wins that race dominantly, and he's top of the standings when it counts for most. And it then begins the Vettel era.
Yeah,
it does.
it's a good
does.
race.
I feel like
But it's not in the book, so it obviously wasn't great.
Well, with that argument, there's no point having a special guest.
Exactly.
I think,
It's your book, isn't it?
I think you probably. Well, let us know. Kevin.Turner at allsport.com. I'll let, depending on what you say, I'll let Roger and Damo know about the answer. Should the 2010 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix be in this list? I mean, if you're a Sebastian Vettel fan, obviously you would say that. But if you're a neutral, I want to know if you think it should be in there. I think you make a fair.
I'm a neutral.
Case. Yes. No, I wasn't suggesting that you're a Vettel fan. No, that's fair enough. Okay, so either way, 2006 Brazil has been edged out. So let's see if the next one gets edged further down as well. The 1956 Italian Grand Prix at Monza, which is most famous really for Peter Collins handing his car over to Juan Manuel Fangio when his own car was broken. I don't know if this counts as a great race, but it's memorable for that moment, I suppose, Roger.
Yes, I think it's there for those sorts of reasons. As we've discussed in other instalments of this, there are quite a few races which could be categorised into one or another chapter in terms of their particular themes. But this one, has come into deciders because of that extraordinary situation where a man who could have won that championship that day.
That's the thing, he was still in contention.
That's right.
He was, although it was slightly
marginal.
It was an outside, because Sterling Moss was doing the business that he had to do in the Maserati. The Italian contingent, as in the drivers of the Ferrari teams, had already just smashed their cars to pieces over the banking in the first few laps, trying to prove which one of them was the quickest Italian Ferrari driver. And no one else would hand their cars over to Fangio, except what you would argue was number two.
Yeah.
Well, this is where we have to be careful not to judge old Formula One by modern kind of thinking, because you just can't imagine something like this being, or it wouldn't be allowed now. But
no,
the mentality, win at all costs these days. Everything is about the World Championship, and in 1956 that just wasn't the case. Peter Collins had immense respect for Fangio, who was the team leader, not because he was contracted to be team leader, he was just the team leader.
It was
because
accepted
Fangio.
he was the best.
Yeah, and there was a deferential approach from one driver to the other, which is remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like the world. Well, he should be world champion because he's the best in the world. Therefore, I'm not. I'm just assisting that.
He never had any problem with it.
No,
So,
quite remarkable. And we should say that Moss did obviously win.
An amazing story, if not an amazing race. But in my book, and it might be just show my age, that's one that I think is a worthy decider.
So would Abu Dhabi 2025 go above that one as well? Are we knocking 56 out?
I would put 25 ahead and
Yeah.
2010. Yeah.
So we've lost both. We're doing badly.
10 and 9 have gone.
It started badly. Well, to be fair, at least 2025 Abu Dhabi happened after we did this list, so we can't be blamed. We can't be blamed for that.
Yes, anything after the 13th of May 2025 isn't included.
No, that's fair. Although I'm not sure how many more races would have been included. Anyway, that's a separate thing. Right, number 8, and I think we're into drama territory here a little bit because of the way that it's finished. The 1959 United States Grand Prix. There were 3 drivers that went into this Sebring race with a chance to championship. Jack Brabham in the Works Cooper, Sterling Moss in the Rob Walker Cooper, and Tony Brooks in the Ferrari. Although I think the grid was slightly ruined by Harry Schell being allowed to keep a lap time that almost everyone, even at the time, thought was completely erroneous.
Yes, he took a shortcut.
Yes, but actually that did have an impact because Wolfgang von Trips then hit Tony Brooks up the backside, his teammate, and Brooks had already had his Aston Martin Le Mans crash and had vowed after that day to never continue with a car that was a bit off and to come in and check. So it kind of took himself out of the equation. Moss disappears down the road and inevitably the Cooper breaks, which leaves Jack Brabham in theory cruising to an easy win, Roger. But even that wasn't quite the end of it, was it?
No, I mean, there was an incredibly exciting finish. That's why this one comes in. You know, the championship's been decided possibly earlier in the race, but this race was particularly dramatic because of the he ran out of fuel, Brabham that is, and tried to push his car, or did push his car.
Yeah, not for the last time. He ran out of fuel.
And teammate Bruce McLaren went by to win the race, and but he was closely followed by Trantino, and it was an exciting ending to the race and the championship.
Well, I think there was a bit of confusion as well, wasn't there? Because Bruce wasn't sure what to do initially, and Trantino was bearing down on them. I think Jack had to wave him on and said, "No, you just go and win the race," which I think he became the youngest winner of a World Championship Grand Prix at the time. So it was quite a dramatic. So I think it was a dramatic race that was worthy of being in the list. But in title terms, Brabham kind of had it already won even before he pushed the car over the line. That's why it was
he had. That's true.
But it was and dramatic images from that. I remember the picture of him looking exhausted at the end with I think a bottle of Coke or something. Was quite a moment, and it's the first United States Grand Prix, and the one and only run at Sebring, which is obviously much better known for its 12-hour sports car race. Yes. So quite an occasion all in all. I'm glad it's in your top 10.
Oh, good.
Well, it's nice that
there you go. Yeah,
but has
really nice to say.
Hey, 1 out of 3.
Has it passed the 2025 Abu Dhabi test yet?
I would say it's ahead of 25 for me.
I think as a race, it's a better race. As a title decider, probably not as tense because of the way that Moss and Brooks were delayed early on. So it depends which way you slice it. Right. Well, I'm going to let you talk about this because I think this was one that was sort of one of the last ones to get in there because I questioned this one. Number 7 is the 1983 South African Grand Prix. My reservation is that I really, really hate it when champions are about to win a championship and just reverse out of winning a race to look after the car. Even though that's quite a sensible strategy, especially the first time you go.
Nothing to do with the driver, then.
Well, which comes first? I don't find it an appealing trait to be winning a championship by finishing second, third, and fourth. But anyway, 1983 South African Grand Prix, won by Riccardo Patrese, but Nelson Piquet beat Alain Prost to the title. And I suppose in a way it's the culmination of Piquet's and Brabham BMW's great comeback against Renault during the season that gets this into the list.
Yeah, I think that's the context is important. That they were, it looked like it was Prost's championship in the summer, and then it all sort of unravelled, and it kind of led basically to his exit from Renault for various reasons. But
which one of them did better after that split?
Well,
didn't go well for Renault that one, did it?
But it's also obviously the importance of it. It was the first turbo world champion, first and only BMW F1 World Championship. And I know what you're saying about Piquet backing out to get the job done.
I think letting your teammate win the race is fair enough, but letting Andrea de Cesaris come past you in Alfa Romeo is...
Yeah.
Max Verstappen's not doing that, is he?
No.
I mean, he's not going to let his teammate win. He's getting... But then it's a different time because you've got more reliable cars now, so it's not a fair comparison.
I think Piquet was the ultimate pragmatist, I think, as a Grand Prix driver. He always... I thought a logical thinker who did think about things quite deeply and was a very bright guy and
key to making that BMW engine project work. He did a lot of the groundwork and pushing to get, because it was disastrous to start.
I mean, isn't that part of the reason why he turned the engine down? Was that he remembered all the
perfectly sensible
enormous
thing to do,
explosions and smoke everywhere from earlier years and races. That must have been in his mind about, well, let's just turn it down and stroke it home.
And this doesn't really have any effect on it being in this list and where it should be, but we were talking in an earlier podcast about the Eagle being one of the great beautiful F1 cars. For me, the BT52 Brabham is high. It's definitely top 3 for me.
Ooh, top 3.
Yeah, I love it.
And of course, it was a bit of a quick job.
Incredible.
Because Gordon Murray had already designed a car, and then they made ground effects. They banned it.
Yeah.
And flat bottoms, and he had to start again.
Well, most of the teams that year had hybrid cars that were, cut and shut versions of the previous ones, because the time frame was ridiculously short. I think wasn't the rule change November,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
82. So, and I think Gordon went through an awful lot of all-nighters,
Late nights, lots of coffee,
maybe other things as well to help him keep awake, and came up with this majestic F1 car.
Well, he realised that you needed to put the weight distribution further to the back with the turbo power, and that's why it looks like an arrow, basically.
The strategy behind it, though, was that they were going to blast out the Brabham BMWs and break the Renault, which they did. And that's the thing about it, which always impressed me, is having the sort of resolute strategy to say, okay, we're going to leave this Renault behind and possibly break it because we're pulling away so quickly. I never had a problem with turning the engine down because I thought actually
very sensible in those.
It's the way to do it. I mean, I'm not going to say about Lando coming third and not sort of going for any more because he did a good job. But you can drive for a place.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of these title deciders, they're often not great races. I mean, that 25 race we just seen in Abu Dhabi was not a great race in terms of being a race.
No,
it was quite dull. It was the tension
was
of what was
I
at
think
stake.
that's the thing. A championship decider just has some extra gravitas, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Even if the race itself isn't. I mean, actually, in support of this race, I know it's not directly relevant to the title, but this is also one of Niki Lauda's great unsung races of having persuaded behind John Barnard's back to run the Porsche Turbo in a sort of hybrid McLaren, and he got up to second at one point before it broke. So because he was preparing for 84, which worked out quite well. What he wasn't expecting, of course, was Alain Prost to be his teammate, and he hadn't yet been sacked by Renault.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose I think that probably is fair enough on the list. We think this one
Should definitely be in there. Yeah.
right. I think that we're into the kind of more hopefully nailed on selection here. 1964 Mexican Grand Prix. So we've got John Surtees at Ferrari, Graham Hill at BRM, Jim Clark Lotus, all going into this one with a chance for the championship. But it's quite a dramatic one, Roger, isn't it? There's, for all of them, all three protagonists are involved in some drama.
Yes. As a Graham Hill fan at the time, I don't mind admitting it. 1964, to see him punted off by Bandini was quite upsetting. I didn't see it, of course, because there wasn't television at that time.
Well, we had a debate, didn't we, about this when we
yeah.
put the book together. I was like, "Are you sure that it was Bandini's fault?" And you were pretty adamant.
Well, I was, and so was Graham Hill, because famously he sent him driving lessons for the following Christmas. Some sort of
That sounds like
record
Graham Hill
or
thing
very
to do,
Graham Hill
doesn't it?
stuff.
Can you remember how you heard about how the race played out? How was it reported? How did you find out?
I think I'm probably relying on Autosport after the event rather than anything else in terms of the detail. But one would have heard some sort of
By the newspaper the next day, or
newspaper the next day, sort of headlines and a bit of a report.
Yeah, the actual detail of how it all played out probably once the magazine comes out.
Yes, yes. There are pictures around of Graham Hill's BRM, which had been shunted quite badly with all this exhaust, sort of chewed up by.
The thing is, Bandini was well liked. He was a gentleman, wasn't he? He was really known for being a good guy. So it's not like he was some sort of, assassin.
No, I mean, I did ask John Surtees about this when I talked to him about 1964, and he had a misfire early on because of the high altitude, and he thought, well, my chances are done, and then it just sort of cleared, and he suddenly started coming back through the pack. And he was catching this battle, and his view is that they were getting stuck into each other, and an incident was inevitable. But then you might argue that Surtees is just as likely to say that as Graham Hill is to say that it's Bandini's fault. So if you were there, is there anyone out there who was actually there at the time that can tell us what happened? I'd love to hear from you. Kevin.turner@autosport.com. There must be somebody that's got a picture or something.
We do know that Bandini waved Surtees through.
Yes, so
and therefore John Surtees, twice world champion on 4 and 2 wheels, wouldn't have been that person without that happening.
So Clark is set to do it, but his car breaks, which at that point puts the championship back in Graham Hill's hands, even though he's no longer running. But then, as you say, on the last lap, so Dan Gurney wins the race. Bandini steps aside to let Surtees take second, and therefore Surtees wins the championship by a point. But Graham Hill was one of only 2 drivers to have lost a world championship due to the dropped scores rule, which I'm quite glad we don't have anymore. Do you know who the other one is? You know who the other one is?
Prost.
88. Yeah. So Graham Hill in 1964 and Alain Prost in 1988 scored the most points across the season, but were not the world champions in those years because of the drop rules. So this one has to be here, surely, because there's drama all the way through, and it's...
Oh, yeah. You haven't got 62 in this list, have you?
No, 62 South African Grand Prix, East London, which actually is quite similar in the sense that Clark's leading and getting the job done, and then the Lotus fails him. But it's a far less interesting race behind, I think. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's still a fascinating one, I think, and the fact that with hindsight you look at it, basically Clark should have been a 4-time world champion.
Yes.
62, 63, 64, 65.
Yes.
And 62 and 64 slipped through his fingers, and through no fault of his own.
Yep.
Well, it's reliability in those days was just completely different. So if you're a
Lotus reliability, particularly.
Well, but also, in general. But overall, it was.
Yeah.
It's the 21st century reliability of modern racing cars is ridiculous. Like, a new fan would have no idea the amount of carnage, fires, and you used to have cars parked around the track. They used to just leave them, didn't they?
Made it exciting.
Well, made it unpredictable, but
unpredictably exciting.
It's not pleasing from a meritocratic point of view, is it? Because you want the best. But then again, Clark had an advantage because he was driving the Lotus, which was faster than everything else, so he should be winning. You could have that view and go, well, part of the payback for that was that they were a bit too fragile and sometimes broke. So, I certainly wouldn't begrudge John Surtees his world championship.
Oh, no, obviously not. No, absolutely.
Because he should probably have won it in '66, and he not. I mean, we're getting off piste here, aren't we?
We are, but no, I mean, everyone loves John Surtees. Everyone loves the fact that he was a world champion on 2 and 4 wheels, and it's how he got there. In those, it's controversial, but I think Bandini moving over is absolutely fair game.
Oh yeah, that's just
There's nothing wrong with
sensible,
that.
isn't it? Yeah, I mean, Phil Hill did it for Mike Hawthorne in '58, didn't he?
Yeah.
Moroccan Grand Prix, which isn't here either. Because it was, Moss absolutely disappeared down the road. I don't think it was much of a race. And of course, Stuart Lewis Evans was killed in it as well.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's get into the top 5 then. Number 5 is the 1984 Portuguese Grand Prix, which was Niki Lauda's race of his life. And when I did his greatest races, I actually disagreed with him, which was a very dangerous thing to do, of course. I put 76 Italy because I just think coming back so soon after that horrendous crash is just one of the most remarkable comebacks in sport. Full stop, really.
Yeah.
But he picked 84 Portugal really because it was winning a world championship against the person that he regarded was his hardest rival, which was Alain Prost in the second McLaren. But Roger, he almost didn't get it done. It was a tricky one.
Yes, I mean
he needed second if Prost was going to win.
Yes, and he got it by default, if you like, when Mansell retired. But it didn't alter the fact that he came from down the grid, P11, to challenge not for the race win, but challenge for taking the title from Prost by the famous half point.
Yes.
Which is part of the reason I think it just has to be in there. His fourth title by half a point.
Third. Don't give him an extra title.
We'll get
all sorts of confusion going on. Although he might say that he should have won 76, maybe it should have been 4. But then I would take 84 off him because I think Alain Prost should have been world champion in 84, so we'll end up in the same place. What do you think?
I love this one. I love this one.
There's a couple of nice cameos as well, aren't there, from Keke Rosberg and Ayrton Senna as well.
Yeah, well, you end up with that podium, Prost, Lauda, and Senna on the podium.
Kind of cross-generational greats, that, isn't it, really?
It's pretty cool. And I think Lauda's drive just won't give up. Just digs deep like he did all year.
He's had turbo problems during the weekend, and he's never quite on top of it, and he just keeps going.
I mean, that he really worked for that championship that year. He was up against it. He knew it. He accepted it. He dug deep, and he was. Things weren't particularly great with Ron Dennis. He wasn't exactly in a great position, and he still just did enough. And Prost did all he could, obviously, as well, and to win the race. And I love the fact that even now, there's no bitterness. There's no nothing. Prost just accepted it because it was all part of his education. I think he saw it as he was learning from Nicky about how to manage a season, and he didn't begrudge Nicky that championship at all. Which is why I recently had to do a list for another magazine. And in terms of great rivalries, I actually put this rivalry ahead of Senna Prost.
Really?
Because it was so refreshing, because it was so respectful, and they just both respected each other so much that I think they learned from each other. I think Nicky was, even at that stage of his career, was learning from Prost. And Prost was absolutely learning from Nicky.
Recently spoke to Indy Lal, who was on Prost's car. He was the chief mechanic on the car at the time, and he said, the two of them, it's like there's never a crossword. They just the team momentum and push was just phenomenal to be part of. They were on top of everything. They had everything in place. John Barnard's, the Coke bottle. The Porsche engine, they had bespoke Michelin tyres, virtually bespoke because they developed it with them. Everything was just so nice at that point. So it kind of backs up it's kind of the nice person's number one choice for rivalry. Which, there we go.
I found the Senna-Prost rivalry exhausting at the time as a kid. I was kind of pleased when it finished because it was just so... It was so exhausting just to watch, and quite depressing by the end because it had got so bitter, and it was got so the way that the championships were decided.
Well, I mean,
in Japan.
That's a good way. That's a good time to point out that. So, if you're expecting 1989 Japanese Grand Prix, well, first of all, neither of those Suzuka races were the final round of the season, so they'd be excluded anyway. But we weren't going to be talking about them, and for similar reasons, 2021 Abu Dhabi is not in this list. Yes, it was a dramatic race. It made for entertaining TV if you were more into entertainment than sport. But I think we're picking out the greatest races, and Abu Dhabi 2021 is never going to be anywhere near a top 100 greatest races.
Oh, it's just depressing, I think.
It was not because of the result, but because of the way that we got there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's subject for... Actually, I am working on a controversial title deciders list. I've just listed half of them.
Yeah, well,
basically. Yeah. Right, okay, well, let's get back to the positive side. So, in at number 4 is the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. I'll be honest, I was working Autosport at the time, but obviously not on the F1 beat. So, you try and be objective when you're writing, but when I was watching it more from a fan point of view, and I really wanted Alonso to get it over the line. Not because I was against Vettel, because I thought Alonso's 2012 season was absolutely phenomenal for Ferrari in a car that wasn't very good. And obviously Vettel did his swingy from the outside across the corner on the first lap, got nudged into a spin, but then, to be fair to him, charged through to get the position, got 6th place.
How did he do that? I mean, there's a picture of the guy going backwards, and he dropped to last place.
And he had a hole in the side of the car.
And
I mean, Red Bull built the car strong, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean... Yeah,
what
a bit of help from the universe there for that car to be pointing the wrong way, and after contact, you think, how's he come back from? I mean, once it was up and running and healthy, I think there was always a good chance he was going to get back to a points-paying position because of the pace of the car. But the fact that it got going, I guess that was the kind of title thing. But the race itself is fascinating because you've got a brilliant wet-dry race going on at the front. Jensen, Button and Nico Hulkenberg being brilliant, losing their advantage over the field. Lewis Hamilton getting on the act. And then Hulkenberg lost it, took Hamilton out. Button ended up winning the race. So
there's a lot going on.
Ahead of Alonso. If Button had made a mistake and Alonso could win the race, it swings it back the other way again. So it was a great race as well as a good title decider, which is why it's so high on the list.
Yeah, I mean, Vettel, after that mistake at the start, was incredible that he should do what he did to put himself out of position.
Yeah.
But after that, he drove a fantastic race. He had a huge slice of luck on his side. I'm not one for believing in deserving. You don't deserve. It just is. You win or you don't win. And but Alonso that year had driven phenomenally in that Ferrari to put himself in a position to win a championship that no one else probably would have been in contention for. And I think the idea of Alonso winning a championship in a Ferrari was a nice one, I have to say.
Yeah.
I really am trying to be objective here, but having said that, Vettel's way that he earned that championship, albeit with a big slice of luck, remarkable finale, and it's deserving to be in your top 4. I think that's for sure.
Yeah, Red Bull fans would also point out that they would have had, Vettel probably would have scored more points had it not been for the capriciousness, let's say, of the Pirelli rubber at the start of the season, which everyone was kind of in and out the window. No one quite knew what was happening. It had a ridiculous number of different winners at the
That
start.
was a weird season, wasn't it? Yeah,
and I think had they had more robust tyres at that point, Red Bull's downforce advantage would have shown like it did in 2013, and it would have been down the road.
Was it 7 different winners?
Different winners in the first 7, just incredible. But
It's a pity about Alonso here, and it's a pity about it in the one we referred to earlier, because I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen him come through with Ferrari and pull it off, and he was so close on 2 occasions.
But in a way, it's part of the mythology of Alonso now, isn't it? That he was a 2-time world champion early in his career, and it never fell for him again. But he's still knocking around at 44, wherever he is. You know, it's I don't know. There's something.
Well, it's a bit like, is it better or worse that Sterling Moss didn't win the 58 World Championship now, with hindsight?
Yeah.
Is it better that he is comfortably the greatest driver not to have won the World Championship, or would it have been better if he was a 1-time champion? Because that would be an injustice as well.
Oh, he would. Yeah.
So,
it doesn't matter, does it?
No.
doesn't
Which
matter.
the conclusion that he came to after Morocco in '58. So he
stopped caring about it
We're
after
catching
that.
up with Sterling Moss.
Yeah.
At last.
And I think Alonso should feel the same. Hopefully he's found peace with the fact that he's a 2-time world champion, and it doesn't matter that it's only 2. And that
We'll see after next year
Yeah,
how he feels
I
about
think
it.
that's a fair point, because at the moment the fact that he's still there would suggest that maybe he hasn't entirely made peace with it. It depends why you think he's still in F1, but that's probably a different podcast.
We could go on all night.
We could, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Right, we're into the top 3 then. So number 3 is the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, which I think for some people would be their number 1, or be the race that would have come to their mind when I said title decider, because you know, the championship being decided on the last corner of the last lap of the last race. You know, Felipe Massa crosses the line, thinks he's world champion, everyone's celebrating, and then, you know, Lewis Hamilton passes Timo Glock.
The Timo Glock race.
Yes, the Timo Glock race. And I would advise anyone that thinks Glock gave that position up on purpose should watch his onboard from the lap running up to that point. The fact he's on the track at all is remarkable. The car tries to spit him off several times because he's completely on the wrong tyres. So it's just the way it landed, wasn't it? I mean, it was incredible. It wasn't. Yes, it was a great.
And for those who had seen Lewis, lose out the preceding year, and were watching him, potentially losing out again by a small margin, it was extraordinary when he actually did pull it off at the end. But it was where television came into its own as well, because that shot into the pits of seeing Massa's dad and the change from his absolute sheer joy, he was going balmy, his son had won the World Championship, and then sort of getting the message that, hey, Hamilton's overtaken Timo Glock and he's got the position he needs to win.
And to be fair,
his face just fell.
I think credit to James Allen and Martin Brundle in the commentary, because they saw it all happening. They spotted it straight away.
Yeah.
And they called it. And I think that won an award, that coverage that year. So which deserved to. It was a great sporting moment, captured perfectly in the TV era. This whole law, the case that Massa's bringing now. What's your feelings on that?
My feelings are quite simple. It's too long ago. It's done and dusted. There are so many other things that could be unpeeled if you really want to do it. and I think he's making a mistake.
I don't like the fact that it's based on a presumption that the result would have been better for him.
Yeah.
Because the reason he didn't get any points in that race is because he drove away from the pit. It's not his fault, by the way. It was the pits, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wants the whole race annulled. The race shouldn't have taken.
But
the
the
race shouldn't have
2021
counted.
Belgian Grand Prix, which literally wasn't a race, did count towards the 21 title. So where does it stop?
Yeah.
How many races?
This is the thing with time travel, isn't it? If you go back and change one thing, it changes everything else.
Yeah.
So you can't unpick and say, well, because you don't know what would have happened.
No.
Had the Crashgate thing not happened and it played out
Hamilton
normal.
and McLaren might have gone into the finale with a different. I mean, I'd say Hamilton and McLaren almost were too conservative that day. They almost reversed out of a championship position. Whereas if they'd had to finish higher up, they would have gone out with a much more attacking strategy, and he would have probably finished further up. So it just makes me feel uncomfortable. Or to put it another way, I've started a list of other championships I'd like to award to different drivers should this thing run any further, and we'll do a podcast then.
What if?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And it's such a shame because I'm actually the way that Massa conducted himself that weekend. I know that's not everyone's view, but I thought that
it was a highly charged moment when he was celebrating victory with tears in his eyes, like he'd lost the world championship, and I thought he dealt with it in the moment very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get into the top 2 greatest title deciders of all time. Number 2, the 1976 Japanese Grand Prix, one of your favourites, Roger. It's the culmination of the Hunt Lauda ridiculous championship fight. Lauda pulls out, saying the conditions are too harsh, too terrible in the wet, which I would suggest is actually the bravest thing to do. Harder to do that than carry on, I would think. And James Hunt carries on. I think he makes a bit of a meal of it, if I'm honest, at the end, because he should come in for tyres earlier, keeps going until they're absolutely knackered, and then has a rubbish stop at the end, but does charge through to get the position he needs to win the championship by a point. So why do you have this so high on your personal list?
An extraordinary decider after an extraordinary season. I mean, the reason there was a film made of it is because it was quite remarkable as a season. It's certainly for those who were following it and living through it, it was very exciting with all the things that went on. It was almost a film script, sort of being written as you went from disqualifications and the Niki Lauda crash and all these things that occurred during that season. And somehow the way that this panned out with Lauda's early retirement and then was he going to get up to the position he needed, V3 or V4, I think, in order to get the points required.
He finished third to get the 4 points.
Yes, and he needed the third. and even after he'd crossed the line and was out of the car, you've got Teddy Mayer putting his fingers up to show him he's got the points he needed. He were in third, not fourth, or whatever it was. It's just an amazing piece of theatre.
Do you think that because it's probably, let's say the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix is probably a better race, but this is because of everything Roger said about the championship context, how much does that have to weigh in and swing it? Are you happy with it being this high?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's got everything. I mean, I think you said earlier on about disagreeing with Niki Lauda about his greatest drive. I'd agree with you that that fourth place, the greatest fourth place in history at Monza, coming back 6 weeks after the Nürburgring, just amazing. For me, this is the second bravest act of his career. Was just, I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm not risking everything, and I'm making a stand, and I'm coming in, and I'm pulling away, and I'm gonna walk away. And he said that he found out the results when he got to the airport, and there was a guy, the Japanese importer, I think it was, for Ferrari. The look on his face, so he knew that the championship was gone. But some things are more important, and I love the way that he stood by his ethics and just walked away from it.
Well, I love also the fact that I think he was offered to, we can invent a problem with the car. So that's why you're trying. It's like, no,
that's not Niki Lauda. That's not Niki Lauda. No, absolutely. And two great characters. I think two of the great characters of Formula One. These two going head to head that year, and the way they dealt with the whole maelstrom of everything they were pushed into is better than the movie by so far. The real movie that could have been made from this, there's that story about them at Watkins Glen sharing the rooms next to each other, and the morning of the race, Lauda walks in to James's bed and he's still in bed and he's fully kitted out. Today I'm going to win the world championship, and then storms out again, and James is in fits of laughter. That's what this rivalry is all about, and the way that Hunt dealt with it. I mean, you say he should have come in earlier.
It was a great weather drive up to that point. I mean, he had the field.
But it's probably quite easy to say to come in when you're that close to the world championship, and and also in a time when tyre stops. I mean, that stop took, was it 27 seconds? I think it was in those days, and you had to pick the car up physically because it was down its haunches with the tyre having gone down. So it was you can see why he was trying to hang on there, and then to just about get the third place. It's got the lot, hasn't it? And it started the modern sport really, because that was the TV coverage.
The point we've made, isn't it?
That was Roger pushes forward a lot on that basis, that it's sort of F1 reaching a wider audience. We should also say that Mario Andretti won the race, was a kind of foreshadowing of Lotus's revival, so it had a bit of significance there as well.
And that circuit with the mist and the rain and the mountain in the background as well. It's a great, it is pure theatre.
But only number two.
What could beat it? I would suggest a three-way championship battle, also involving another great and a retiring great. And won by someone who put in one of the greatest seasons of all time is probably fitting. Is that giving it enough? Is that enough there? 1986 Australian Grand Prix, won by Alain Prost, the race of the Nigel Mansell blowout. This has pretty much everything, doesn't it? It has overtaking, it has drama, it has championship jeopardy right to the end, a surprise winner. It ticks a lot of the boxes for some of the categories that we've talked about in this series.
An unexpected champion, really, because Nigel Mansell went in there very strong favourite, and
was doing everything that he had to do.
Absolutely everything he required to do, and I had it's one of those "what were you doing at the time" sort of events, and I had bought a new house with my family, and had to replace the floorboards of the kitchen overnight. And the incentive for me was I would see Nigel Mansell win the World Championship at 6 o'clock in the morning from Adelaide, or whatever time it was. So I'd done my job. I'd nailed away through the wee small hours and got to this time. And I have to say, that was one of the most disappointing races I've ever watched. However, later, I think it was Nigel Roebuck's view, and perhaps your own as well, actually, Damien, was that this was a fantastic race. I think I was in denial and didn't see it for the great race it was. The fact that it had all these different phases and different events going on, as well as this moment when Nigel had the tyre go and he slithered into the bump the barriers. So that's my story on it, and I think it's very much deserved as the great race with all the excitement that goes with the title decider.
Yeah, I think I remember talking to Nigel Roebuck, who's I worked with for many years and is a good friend, and asking him, "Come on, push comes to shove, what was the most dramatic, thrilling Grand Prix that you watched?" And he's watched a lot. And he saw a lot of them,
wasn't it?
He saw a lot of them in the flesh. He was there, and he said 86 was the one that stood out for him. I think the circumstances, the whole story, there's so many elements to it. Keke Rosberg's last race in Formula One, leading and has what he thinks is a car failure, and then when he gets out realises it's a tyre failure, which is obviously a foreshadow of what's just about to happen in the World Championship with Mansell. I was 12 at the time, so I watched it on telly. I remember watching it, getting up in the middle of the night and watching it and seeing the tyre blow. I think Frank Williams was in the studio in London with Steve Ryder, I think, set up to be a celebration, and it turned into something else.
And of course, Frank was in the wheelchair.
in the wheelchair, having had the accident at the start
That
of the
same
year.
season.
Incredible, the Williams guys, Mansell and Piquet, clearly in the best car of the year, fought all year. Talked to the interviews I've done since. You find out that they were visiting Frank in hospital, trying to make sure that they were being treated as the number one in the team. There was all this stuff going on that Patrick Head was trying to manage all of this stuff, and Honda as well, and just incredible drama. And through it all, Prost comes through.
The Frenchman wins.
And and also he had the puncture in the race.
Yeah.
Took on fresh tires. He put in an incredible comeback. His fuel readouts telling him he's out of fuel. He's going to run out. He's not going to make it. So he's on the edge, and he made it. And that image of him crossing the line with the arms in the air.
I think he rates it as his best title, doesn't he?
He does.
I mean,
yeah.
What's interesting is that he had planned a tyre stop, which was, I think, secretly.
Yes. He's adamant that was the plan.
Yeah. There are people in McLaren who knew that, but there are others who weren't aware. So it was obviously a very small group that knew that was the plan. But obviously the puncture was pretty close to, I think, when he was going to do it anyway. But yeah, as you say, in a way, they swap roles, don't they? Mansell kind of drives a quite calculated Prost race of I just need to finish third, and he's kind of there pretty much all the time. He lets Piquet go. Piquet spins, he goes back past, Piquet catches him, goes, yeah, okay, Nelson, off you go, doing his thing. And then Prost has got a negative readout and goes, well, finishing second is no good to me. It's Red Mansell, Silverstone, 87-esque, isn't it? Or to hell with the readout. It's been wrong before, off we go. You've got cameos from Senna, obviously, early on as well in the Lotus. It's got great drivers. It's a great drama in many ways, and it gives you a great result. I know that we've got to be impartial, but I think the best driver in 1986 that did win the World Championship. Yeah,
it's at the heart of the turbo era. These ridiculous cars in this ridiculous decade. These fantastic heroes, and just this storyline, which is one of the. I think it's the best. I think for me, nothing surpassed it since. There's been some great moments and some great races since, but I think 86 for me, Adelaide had the lot.
One question, because obviously towards the end, so after Mansell's blowout takes him out of it, Piquet could be champion because he's in the lead, and Williams, which is probably the sensible thing to do from their point of view as well, we could happen to hit him, so we bring him in, which gives Prost the lead. So Piquet then comes out and charges after Prost, but loses out. If you're Nelson Piquet, do you come in?
We said earlier on about the 83, the way he finished 83, the arch pragmatist. He made the decision that was the sensible decision for his own state, his own for his own well-being.
And if he caught Prost, or if Prost had run out of fuel and he'd won, then it would have been Piquet's championship.
Yeah. But I think he's the sort of guy that would never regret something like that. That he made the call in the moment. And
right.
If you look at the photos afterwards, I would suggest that Nelson Piquet was just very pleased that Nigel Mansell wasn't world champion. He looked, because Prost and Piquet were quite friendly, weren't they?
They were good friends.
I suspect that Piquet was quite pleased. He wasn't too upset at the outcome, I think, is the impression I get.
When I interviewed Prost, we talked about his different rivalries over time, and obviously the Senna thing came up. And I said to him, it's a shame that your career is kind of framed by that, and there was so much more to it. And he said, when I was fighting with Piquet for the World Championship, we went on holiday together. They was a completely different thing. They had a friendship, and they were very respectful of each other. I think you were absolutely right. And there's no doubt which one he would have preferred. If it wasn't him, he wanted Prost to win it. So I think he'd been very pleased with that result in that sense.
So there we are. So I guess we're saying 2025 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix would have just made it into the back end, and Damien's made a very good case for 2010 Abu Dhabi. Perhaps should have edged 2006 Brazilian.
Yeah, so we had a bit of a bumpy ride in the early races of this particular chapter deciders.
But we've ended as friends.
But we've all ended as friends, and I think that there's no question
with the top three.
That the top three are really phenomenal races.
Yeah, all three of them.
And any of those three could have got there, but 86 is the one.
Yes.
Well, there we go. Let us know what you think. Kevin.Turner at autosport.com. Did we pick the right one? 1986 Australian Grand Prix was our title decider episode winner. So I'm not going to count down the list because we've gone backwards and forwards enough times, but I'll do the top 3: 2008 Brazil, 1976 Japan, and 1986 Australia. So thank you very much, Damien Smith. Thank you very much, Roger Smith, and thank you very much for joining us. The next one will effectively be the finale, where we pick the greatest race in World Championship history.
The GOAT.
The GOAT. I'm not sure. We had a debate about whether we should really do that, but we couldn't do all that. We couldn't do the 100 and then not pick number 1.
We had to do it.
So we decided we sort of persuaded each other we had to do it. So Karun Chandhok will be joining us to see if we were correct or not with our choice, and we'll debate that. So please join us for that one. But until then, thank you and goodbye for now.